Shows that make you laugh. Shows that make you think. Music that moves you. It could only be one place. Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
It's time for the Bonnie Sher Show, a whirlwind of wit, wisdom, celebrity, and the boomer life. With a little bit of this and a lot of that and so much more you don't want to miss, here's Bonnie.
Well, hello, old friends and new, and thank you for tuning in and calling in and joining us on today's show. First of all, my thanks to Wayne Cobham for my super duper hero theme song. I'm very excited about today's show. I have a guest with me to start us off who is a sensational, soulful songstress. That's Thelma Jones. And we also have, due to a technical difficulty, Mike Lawson will not be with us today. However, we do have a special replay for you in that T1 spot. So, if you have a question or you have a comment, you know what to do. You can call us 323-843-2826, or you can follow us on Twitter. That's what it's called, Twitter. And that is hashtag BShareRadio. Okay, then, Nat, settle in, please. Get ready to say hello to Miss Thelma Jones. Hello, Thelma.
Hello back to you, Miss Bonnie.
I am so excited to see you here. You know, it's really a very small industry,
Yes.
and we really are a very small group. And somehow, if you live long enough, you meet yourselves again and again, and even somebody like the gentleman who brought us together,
Yes.
and that's the fabulous Rudy Calvo,
Of course.
is so plugged into so many things, so that by the time he introduced me to you, I've appreciated your work, and all of a sudden there you were, very accessible, and Rudy was kind enough to put me in touch with you and bring you in. So first of all, I want to thank Rudy,
Yes.
who is in studio with us today. But mostly, thank you for taking the time. I so appreciate it.
Well, it's an honor. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're a dear.
Yes.
Tell us what you're up to nowadays.
Well, I'm working in the studio right now with some new music and doing some private gigs, especially through the holiday season. But I'm mostly focusing on the new music. Yes.
Nice to change things up and stay au courant, is it?
Oh, yes. Oh,
And I think
yes.
it's a learning lesson for us, too, to know that we can stretch. I haven't particularly made that stretch, so, I mean, you can stretch. I'm still doing the old standards because, well, I remember the words. Don't you laugh. It's true. Can't
I
remember
understand.
everything.
I'm laughing in agreement
I
because I
appreciate-
totally understand.
You know, really, you want me to learn all these lyrics for one show, huh?
Yeah.
And it's tomorrow. No. Just, no, I can't. I'm working on this script. I say the same thing every week, and yet I still have to take a look, make sure I'm still Bonnie Sher. But because in case I didn't mention it at the top of the show, I knew I forgot something. I am Bonnie Sher. So it's going to be that kind of pre-Christmas show. Nothing started out as it was supposed to today, but it's working out better than it would have. So there you go.
There you
So
go.
let's come back to you. How do you prepare? Well, let me take that back another step. What leads you toward the music that you want to perform and or record? What do you look for in a song?
I really pay especially I pay close attention to the lyric, because to me, singing, I consider myself a storyteller, just put to music. And so I look for a lyric that's going to touch people without being preachy, and mostly uplifting, even the blues tunes I sing.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite work to do?
The first.
What's your favorite?
My favorite song.
Or your favorite type of music, or what do you look? Is there anything that will lead you to a song? Maybe in another style, or do you take the song and then stylize it?
Usually, I'll take the song and stylize it. And just to give you an example, there's a song that I love by Willie Nelson, and it's called "Angel Flying Too Close to the Ground." And the lyrics are so amazing. And I just had to bring my gospel background to it, and I just love that song. And wherever I sing it, people love it.
I'll bet they do. That would be phenomenal. I look forward to hearing that. So you're living here now, but have you always been in L.A.?
I've been here for a few years. I moved out to LA in 1980, but I
Just in time for the earthquake.
Yeah, oh yes,
That was not the best plan.
it was.
You should have called me, because that's when I hightailed
That's when
it
you
out.
left.
I darn straight. Yeah.
But I grew up in New York. I was born in North Carolina, but early on, my family moved to New York, and so that's where I grew up and started singing and had a lot of success with the music.
Did you come from a musical family?
Yes, but nobody did it professionally.
But there was music in the
Oh,
house,
yes, all the time.
and isn't that the best way to grow up?
It is.
To get those lessons, and I was blessed also from a very young age that my mother loved Judy Garland.
Oh.
And from the time I can remember back, I guess, maybe 5 or 6, and we lived in Chicago, and Judy was performing at the Greenfelt Forum. And my mother flew us to New York. It was just the two of us to see Judy the first time. And I looked at her, I said, "Mommy, I know what I have to be when I grow up." Wow.
Judy Garland is. Her music still is, but she was phenomenal. Yeah.
That's one person. I mean, if they ask if you could be at a dinner party and who would you want at that party, living or dead? Well, I certainly prefer her to be there living.
Oh,
But, well, she won't eat much. Would be Judy, know,
yeah.
of all the stories.
Yes.
Did you have any favorites, any kind of role models as you were a young singer? Was anybody that you especially listened to, or or maybe had influences from?
It's interesting. Of course, my background is gospel, and the first person that really made a deep impression on me was Mahalia Jackson. And I ended up becoming a gospel singer for a long time. In my early years, I sang with people like Rosetta Thorpe and the Five Blind Boys of Alabama. And there was another group. Well, just so many, like the Davis Sisters. They used to have these gospel shows. And so I was placed on those shows because the church that I attended in New York, the pastor was grooming me to become a great gospel singer. And then I loved the pop music of the day, so I switched. And I think, I'm trying to think, people that influenced me were like Sam Cooke. I'm a peer of Aretha Franklin. We came along around the same time. So of course, I love her music, but I didn't emulate her style because we both love Sam Cooke and Mahalia Jackson. So that's one of the people. And Big Maybelle. Big Maybelle was such a huge influence on me. She was so sweet because when I came out of the gospel field, I actually recorded a song and had a hit the first time out, in the blues and rhythm and blues market. It was called Never Leave Me. And of course, I didn't have the training and the choreography and all of that the people at Motown were giving their artists at that time. So all I knew was just to stand on the stage and sing. And here I am at the Apollo Theater all of a sudden with my long sleeve white blouse and my little black skirt, my choir uniform. And Big Maybelle just really, she was a big star. And she took me under her wing and she got the gowns and she had her assistant take me places and get it together. So I always loved her.
Boy,
I love her music. And she used to say, this little old bitty baby girl with that big old voice. I was very skinny then. Yeah, so.
But you still have that big old voice, that's for sure.
That's what she was just such a great influence. There's so many other people along the way.
Is there anybody that you listen to now? Or are we still listening to? I mean, I know me. I have not really fallen into much of the contemporary pop market.
I love Sam Smith.
There you go.
I love him. I love Adele. She's quite an outstanding artist. And I like all the jazz greats like Nancy Wilson and I worked with Sammy Davis Jr. briefly, who was just a lovely man.
Yes. So. Do you remember what years those were?
Sammy, when I did the show with him, it was around late 80s.
Okay.
Because he wasn't well. If I can.
That's correct. It was
wasn't
the chronology.
Well, and we did the show together, and for the Jewish children's home. Yeah.
One thing about Mr. D is he would do any benefit that he was ever called upon to do. I thought we were going to have to do a benefit for him at one point.
Right.
There was something magical
Yeah.
about working with somebody like that. And as I listened to you talking about Big Mabel, that's how I felt about Sammy, that he looked at me as a 17-year-old kid and saw that there was something. And he's the one who developed and worked with me, and I was with him until I didn't work full-time because I came out of the biz and was Danny's mom and continued a life, and then I started back with him. I guess my son was about 8.
Mm-hmm.
And until Sam passed away in, it was 1990.
Oh.
And that's when I left town and went to New York. I had been in LA enough. It was time to move on. But
he was really a lovely man.
He was a lovely man. He was a demanding taskmaster.
Yes.
I remember that's why they call it show business, not show fooling around. Oh, okay. Whatever he would have said, it would have been fine.
Yes.
To have somebody take you by the hand like that, as you did, so I know you know that feeling. That's something that's, and obviously it stayed with you because it's the first thing that you thought about to tell me.
Yes.
And that's
Ruth Brown was another one, too.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was another one.
I had the pleasure of meeting her once
Yeah.
in her late days in New York.
Yes. Linda Hopkins.
Miss Linda I worked with.
Yes. Isn't she a lovely lady?
She's fabulous.
She's a hoot.
She's fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a show with her at a jazz club on, West 46th Street, that whole row of clubs.
Yes.
This was, I think it was the Red Blazer 2 or something. And, that was a great show.
Oh, yeah.
She's amazing. I didn't know you don't want to go on after Linda Hopkins.
No. But,
But I was too small to fight anybody.
No. But you know something about Linda? She was so gracious and so giving.
Absolutely,
and so
but she's
supporting.
so great.
She didn't have that. That was one thing I noticed about her that was outstanding when you're in this business. She
I agree
did
with
not
you.
have that competitive, I'm going to outdo you. She always tried to
She
help.
didn't have to. I mean, she didn't have
Yeah.
to do anything except
She'd
sing,
bring you up on stage with her. Yeah,
which is the loveliest gift.
yeah.
And to be that open. Oh,
She said something to me that I will treasure the rest of my life. When she first heard me sing, she came to hear me sing at the Rose Tattoo in West Hollywood. And she said, Thelma, baby, you the only somebody to put me in the mind of me when you singing. I will always, I mean, I'm nowhere near Linda Hopkins. I mean, but when she said that, and she was sincere, I loved it. She said, you're from New Orleans, ain't you, baby? I said, no, I'm from North Carolina. And she thought about it. She's so funny. She said, that's all right. Same difference. We cooks alike, she said. Very beautiful lady.
yes,
I love her.
is. Well, tell my audience, if you would, how can they follow you? Are you on Facebook? Do you tweet? How can we follow you and know when you're working or where you're going to be or about your album coming out
Sure.
and all of that? So
I am
fill
on
us-
Facebook, Thelma Jones on Facebook. And I have a website, ThelmaJonesMusic.com.
That's why I couldn't find it. SelmaJonesMusic.com.
Yes.
Okay, we'll have that up for you.
Yes.
And so you're in the studio now. How long do you think? I mean, it's hard to gauge these things, but do you have any kind of timeline set when you think this might be available for the listening public?
Well, we're working on two different projects at the same time.
Uh-huh. But you'll keep me informed so I can
will.
let everybody else
I
know?
will most definitely do that. But I would
would
say
appreciate
I would
it.
just, give an estimate of when the CD would be ready, probably in about 2 or 3 months.
Wow, that's exciting. 2-3 months. Whew. That's
Yeah.
going to be tomorrow. Have you noticed how
Yes,
quickly
yes.
things happen
Because
in
we're
these?
combining a musical and combining the story of my life. It's called Memories of Harlem, where I grew up. So
Memories of Harlem. Remember that title?
Yes.
You'll be hearing it from me again, and I know that Miss Thelma will be letting you all know too on her page, Thelma.
most
Thank
definitely.
you so very much for
Thank
being
you.
with me today. This
Thank
has
you.
just been a pleasure.
Oh,
Keep
it's
in touch with me. Let me
It's
know
wonderful.
what's going on.
I will. I certainly will. It's
Thank
been an honor. Thank you so much.
Stay right here with me a second. Okay, Tony, up next, before we go to break, well, actually, there's no before we go to break because we are going to break. I'm so confused today. But I'm not so confused that I don't remember to tell you that you are listening to the Bonnie Sher Show. Please join the conversation. You can call in at area code 323-843-2826, or you can follow us on Twitter at #BeShareRadio. Coming up, a shout out from my soapbox. You know the one. It's my take on who I think should be complimented. And my shout down is who I think should probably, well, not be applauded. Actually, should be quite ashamed of themselves. Pardon me. So, we're going to go to break now with a tune that was recorded by my guest, Miss Thelma Jones, and I happen to really love the song, and I just loved your performance on it. So what we have for you today, ladies and gentlemen, is Thelma Jones singing I'd Rather Leave When I'm in Love.
Yes. Thank you.
Let's play that, please.
believe while I'm in love, while I still believe the meaning of the word. I'll keep my dreams and just pretend that you and I were never meant to end. Too many times I've seen the rose die on the vine, and somebody's heart gets broken. Usually it's mine. I don't wanna take the chance of being hurt again, and you and I can't say goodbye. So if you wait and find me gone, hey babe, just carry on. You see, I need my fantasy, yeah, and I still believe it's best to leave while I'm in love. While I'm in love. Too many times I've seen the rose die on the vine, and somebody's heart gets broken. Usually it's mine. I don't wanna take the chance of being hurt again. You and I can't say goodbye. So if you wait, find me gone. Hey babe, just carry on, because I need my fantasy, yeah, yeah. And I still believe it's best to leave while I'm in love. While I'm in love, yeah. While I'm in love with you, baby. While I'm still in love, yeah, yeah. While I can still look at you and say, I love you, I love you. I say I love you, yeah. Right now, I feel like I still love you.
Welcome back to the Bonnie Sher Show. Joining me in this segment is Roger Sparks, a member of the T1D community from right here in California. So hello, Roger. Welcome back.
Well, hello, Bonnie. It's nice to see you again.
Well, you blow my mind, I must say. What I'm going to ask you to do for the people who've been watching all the way along will probably already recognize Roger. This is his third appearance here on the show now. I refer to him as our million islet cell man. He hates when I do it, but it's just too bad it's my show. Because why do I call him that, you might ask? The reason is quite simple. On January the 1st of 2016, Roger went to the City of Hope and had 400,000 islet cells implanted, and that was then followed up 3 months later with implantation of another 600,000 cells. Roger now sits here with us, a self-proclaimed diabetic T1 still, but still in all with no need for insulin. So the first thing I want to do is, for those who don't know the whole story, I'd like to take this story back to a year ago today. It's December 1st, 2015. You already know that you're in line and you're waiting for these cells to be marked. We're Roger's cells now. What's going through your mind right then?
Well, at that stage, it's unknown. You're excited. You're wondering when it's going to happen because you never really know when the cells are going to be available. They put you on a transplant waiting list, and you're essentially waiting for a pancreas to be available, and you don't know when it's going to happen. So you sort of have this pent-up feeling of what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. You don't really know. They give you a good idea about what's going to happen, but it's
When you
not
say they
even
give you
close.
an idea of, okay, we're going to get to that. But when you say an idea of what's going to happen, what's going to happen in terms of drug therapies, what's going to happen in terms of how much can they really tell you, or is that really the function of the study, is to find these things out?
Yeah, well, they can give you the parameters. They can tell you, you're going to be taking immunosuppressant drugs after you do it. They can tell you that the procedure is going to be 2 or 3 hours. They can tell you what life is probably going to be like after, but they can't really promise you
So
that.
what did they tell you?
Well, they told me that, number one, keep my expectations low.
Oh, that's easy.
Okay, yeah, exactly. After being a type 1 diabetic for 35 years, low expectations sometimes are easier. They told me that I would probably get to the point where I wouldn't have to deal with hypoglycemia anymore, which was a huge, huge issue for me. They did not promise me insulin independence. They said I may have reduced insulin. I may have, and they didn't know how much or how little. And basically, you sort of understand that what you are is a test tube. And they're kind of throwing stuff into you, and then they're going to wait and see what's going to happen. And it's exciting. It's particularly exciting because you know this as well as anyone. When you're a type 1 diabetic, you've been told every 5 years there's going to be a cure. And you think, yeah, right, okay, another 5 years. So 35 years of that. And finally, it's an opportunity to really be part of what's happening. So I was really, really excited.
Which leads me to my next question. What made you want to do this? I mean, other than the obvious, there's a big step, because I can't think of any type 1 who goes, nah, I'm happy with this, just the way it is. Nah, I don't need it. I'm good. I mean,
well, part of what qualified me for it was I was developing, as time went on, more and more complications from diabetes, and particularly low blood sugars. My hypoglycemia was getting worse. It was getting more often. I'd lost the ability to detect when I was going to have a low blood sugar. As a matter of fact, 2 weeks before the transplant, I woke up in the middle of the floor at 4 o'clock in the morning. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I was. Had blood all over me, blood all over the floor because I'd been beating my face, apparently. I literally didn't know who I was. Now, as a type 1, you sort of go into automatic mode at those points in time.
Sure.
I tried to stand up. My legs wouldn't support me. I fell into the chest of drawers. I crawled across the floor into the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, felt for all automatic because I still didn't know who I was.
Sure.
And they told me I was probably going to not have to deal with that anymore. And the promise of that by itself was more than I could really imagine.
So how did you start the process? Let's say one of our listeners says, all right, I can devote, there's obviously a commitment of time involved. It's,
Right.
We haven't even gotten into that yet and how it affects your day to day. But so if somebody wanted to explore the possibilities, now clearly it's not only City of Hope that deals in this type of transplantation. It goes on around the country. But from your point of view, Roger, what were your steps? When was that moment that you said, this one's for me?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I had been following what's called the Edmonton Protocol, which was the transplantation of islets, for a long time. And I actually knew that the City of Hope was doing these transplants, but I didn't really know a whole lot about them. I went to their website and I watched a video from the chair of endocrinology there, Dr. Ken Deal, and he said in no uncertain terms, his objective was to cure diabetes in his lifetime. And when I heard that, and I saw some of the results that they were getting, I said, I want to be part of it. I just want to be part of it. So I picked up a telephone and called him. And I said, I hear you got a transplant program going on. How do I get in? What do I do? And from the moment that I started talking to them, they were incredibly responsive. They got back to me. They pulled me in for an interview. They had me fill out some paperwork. They started doing physical tests because what they want to make sure of, you're going to be on immunosuppressant drugs. They want to make sure you don't have a cancer someplace in your body or some other complication that's going to be complicated by the medication you have to take. Right. And it took about 5 months of tests and medical tests. And I remember the day they came to me and they said, you're going on the wait list next week, so get ready. And it was probably the turning point of my life at this stage in time.
Amazing.
And I got called 2 weeks later, actually 10 days later, for the transplant, which is unheard of. You know, normally it's several months to wait for a pancreas to become available for whatever reason. I got one.
Match.
So on New Year's Eve, I got a call. And said,
and I just talked about boring New Year's Eves, right?
Exactly. Well, this was not a boring New
Year's
Eve.
Right. Fundamentally, no.
I'd gained about 5 pounds at Christmas time, and I was afraid that was going to put me over the weight limit for this.
For the weight class?
Yeah, exactly. So I was there at 5 o'clock in the morning on January 1st, and it's been the most remarkable year that, you know, there's really no way to describe what the last year has been like.
Try.
Well, you know, I'm insulin free now. I don't take a drop of insulin after 35 years of being hooked up to an insulin pump, worrying about low blood sugars, worrying about high blood sugars, counting carbohydrates, doing all the stuff that goes along with it. So I don't take a drop of insulin now. I eat what I want to eat, although I still eat very well. My blood sugar has been rock solid steady since my second transplant. It's like I'm not diabetic anymore. I'm afraid you're going to drum me out of the club, actually.
Did it show in my eyes?
Yeah,
Could you see that?
Exactly.
And he's smart, too.
Right.
You heard it here.
When you've been a type 1 for 35 years, you're always a type 1. But right now, I'm behaving as if
Is that like
I've
being
never
a type
had
1 in
diabetic.
drag?
Yeah, well, maybe. It's not a bad way to look at it.
I can't even imagine.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Okay. Now, we have to look at the other side of this. Or we don't have to, but I'm going to. I've read, and we both know of people who have had similar procedures, and for one reason or the other, they are not successful.
Right.
Is there any reason, I'm putting it this way, let's say you've already had a transplantation, it's not successful. I don't mean in terms of yours. That was a very short study. It was only 3.5 months from the first one.
Actually, it was 6 months. It was.
It was?
Yeah, it was.
I got confused.
January 1st and June 16th.
Right, because you were here on the end of March.
Right.
That's when we first saw you. Can it be done again?
Part of getting in the clinical trial is they commit to up to 3 transplants because they don't know how many you're going to need to get to insulin independence. I got there in 2.
Okay, so there you are as of that date. So I don't want to paint a future picture, but anybody in this position, okay, you're going along jaunty jolly, you're insulin free, you're feeling well, something happens. And either something happens.
You deal with it.
Can they do another transplant?
Sure.
So there's nothing to stop that. Once it's happened, there's no reason it can't be done again.
There's a slight level of potential complication with a second and a third transplant. If you think about the fact I have 2 human beings' islets inside me right now.
Sure.
That are.
Do they get along?
And they get along. Luckily, they get along really well.
In my family, they would have gotten
but there's a chance they won't. Okay, so
I never even thought about
if
that.
you have a third one, their chance of them not getting along are better, or less, I guess is a better way to say it. So there's always risks and there's always things that you think about. But the bottom line is, this is the most life-changing experience one can have. And at the same time, you're participating in something that is moving toward a cure. And I'm an example now. I talk to diabetics all the time now, and people that are having all the same problems that I had, and I can be an example right now. They can look at me and say, what a difference this made in your life. We can hope that that's going to happen in our lifetime. And maybe we'll just jump into this clinical trial and be part of it also. City of Hope is still recruiting for the clinical trial. And it's islets at coh.org. And if you send them an email and you think it's something that you want to get involved in, they'll get back to you, and I just encourage you to participate in this incredible experience.
Boy, wouldn't I love that? Could you sign mine and say, look, I know her, she'll really do everything she's, but you know me too well.
I do know you well. Right.
I know that exercise. Oh, no. Well, we can talk about exercise in a minute. Here's what I want to know about complications. After X amount of years, they kind of come along with the project. What have you heard of cases where, because of prior damage done to the body, where new complications might arise after a transplant?
I do not know about that. What I know is the complications that I had some neuropathy in my eyes. I just had an eye checkup, and my ophthalmologist said, your eyes are totally clear. There's nothing showing there anymore. So my feeling is my body is in the process of healing itself. Now, is that true? I just don't know.
Could you rub some of that on me?
I'll rub it off on you right now.
What a guy. Because to me, that would be, obviously not having to take insulin is a biggie.
Right.
But I think also for those of us who have been living with type 1 for a long period of time, that the complications kind of take on a life of themselves.
They do.
And then they require treatment, and you have to be careful that you're not confusing your treatment, because one thing will push those glucose numbers right up, and another thing will drop it down, and that's just to try and make sure your heart pumps.
Right.
It's
yeah.
So that would give me hope.
Right.
That's my city of hope, that this isn't all there is for me.
Right. Well,
that I can continue, and so who knows?
The whole purpose of all of these clinical trials There's a there's a variety of clinical trials going on. They're all doing something slightly differently. All of them are going to benefit all of us eventually. Okay? Question is, when is eventually, right?
I've given up on when. I just want to know that it can be. The when.
Well, look right here, Bonnie. It can be.
Oh, he's make me cry. I really am very excited for what's happened to you and for you, Roger. And we only have another couple of minutes before I need to say goodbye to you for now. So would you please tell our audience how they may follow you, how they can find out? I know that you've been writing blogs about your experience. Tell them.
Yeah, the easiest way is just Google Roger Islets.
Roger Islets.
Islets. And you'll find my blog. On the blog, you'll find, if you want to follow me on Twitter, if you want to follow me on Facebook, it's Roger D. Sparks on both of them. I try to post a couple of times a month to keep everybody up to date. So far, it's been all good news, and hopefully it'll stay that way for a while. But by all means, if you're even remotely thinking about doing something like this, now's the time to do it. Get involved. I don't care how old you are. I don't care where you are. Get involved.
Well, Roger, I'm behind you 1,000%. And thank you once again
My
for
pleasure.
coming in and sharing some hope for a change. I mean, it gets a little depressing around here.
Thank you, Bonnie.
And welcome back to the Bonnie Sher Show. Today, I'd like to give a shout out to a very, very special group of people. They're known as the White Helmets of Aleppo. The White Helmets are actually the first responders in Syria. They are about 3,000 members strong, and I do mean strong, as they have been credited with saving over 60,000 lives by pulling victims from bombed buildings. And their motto is to save one life is to save humanity. There is something currently on Netflix. There's a documentary that you might want to take a look at, which is called The White Helmets. I also read recently that, what's that gorgeous guy's name I told you before? I've forgotten his name. Who's making the movie? Told you. George Clooney, that gorgeous guy. I'm the only woman in America who couldn't come up with George Clooney. That's so me. George, if you're listening, sorry, baby, because I really am trying to tout the fact that you're now making a film about these incredible men who have come to the aid of their countrymen. And just a wow to me. CBS News gave me that information. Next, my shout down. Let me say, first of all, that I'm disappointed. Secondly, I really hate to be disappointed. And one of my least favorite things is to be disappointed. And yet I find myself now, as we're closing out the year of 2016, that once again Congress has allowed that bill to authorize Medicare to provide the funds for their patients so they can have a continuous glucose monitor is still languishing. Of course, my big concern on top of that is with the new regime coming in. I'm less than confident, unfortunately, that this is going to happen. I don't know what we can do. I think that there's some wonderful organizations that are doing their best to catch everybody's attention, or at least the attention of the people who can make these changes. But I think we can't drop the ball either. I think each and every one of us needs to write. The more we write, the squeakier of a wheel we're going to become. you even get answers. You know, Nancy Pelosi just wrote me a lovely letter. Dear Miss Cher, I was very proud of that letter. And she wants to help us too. So that's the shout down. Make them do their job. They work for us. It's not the other way around. Well, oh, and if you have an opinion, go ahead. Send it to me in an email. You can visit my blog at bonniesher.com/blog and sound off. That's our show for today. I hope you'll return next week for another 50 minutes of celebrity, the great boomer generation, and this incredibly strong T1D community of ours. I'd like to again thank today's guests for being with me, and a special note of thanks to Corey Bone for providing me with this lovely black freshwater pearl necklace. So you can find Corey on my website at bonniesher.com, or you can follow him on Twitter at Crown and Anchor Jewelry. For my friends, new and old, I guess you all know by now that Sammy Davis Jr. played an incredibly large role in my life. He was my friend and he was my mentor, and I miss him every single day. And so in the fashion of Carol Burnett, who I think is pretty terrific, Sammy, I'm sending you a smile and a wink. And Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. We say goodbye. I cry a little every time we say goodbye. I wonder why a little. Why the gods above me, who must be in the know, think so little of me. They'd allow me to go. When you're near, there's such an air of spring. they say. Goodbye. Good night.